Good evening, free enterprise friends. Welcome to some Friday free enterprise. This is the nightcap for our action-packed weekend. Please, no spoilers if you've watched any of the other exciting matches. I am joined here by Commander Lanehart. How are you doing, Commander?
Doing good, Prof. Corey. How are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Looking forward to a good match. I think, at least if I was going to guess based on the results of their first races, that this should be pretty competitive. I'm expecting a close one.
Yeah, same. Definitely looking forward to it. Looks like we've been given boss hunt for our random objectives, so we need to find characters to get our crystal, but who knows where those pesky bosses ran off to.
This is an interesting pair of bosses too, because they could be really nice, super easy, not a problem. I mean, I guess it's true of any boss, but like really when I think of like the broad range of possibilities, these are two bosses that can be either really good or really, really bad, depending on where you find them.
Yeah, there are some spots that Octomam will mow you down if you don't get your blink set up and start lopping off the tentacles. And DKC is definitely the epitome of, did you show up in Mylon 1 spot? Okay, whatever. Or are you hanging out in the CPU?
How many thousands of HP do I need to survive this battle?
Yeah.
We got a Rosa start. Rosa is... I'm sorry, say that again?
A Night Dew in chat pointing out that Cave Bahamut would be another lovely place to find that DKC.
Yep. Although it also does open up some interesting possibilities for, I don't know, cheese strats or let's call them creative strategies. If you have just the right party setup where maybe you've got everybody at relative agility 1 because you got a good anchor, and Eddie can like high right away, something like that.
Now you're speaking my language.
I always like when there's opportunities for creative ways to take down bosses early that can really like differentiate two runners. When one of them looks at it and goes like, nope, that's totally unreasonable, I'm not going to worry about this, and then the other one says, I think there's a way. What if?
It could come down to somebody holding on to Edward and saying, that Dark Knight Cecil's still out there, and somebody else just sending him on his way. Because we don't have we have C buy on. So if a character isn't taken into the party when they're encountered, you can't go back to the Tower of Wishes to pick them back up.
Yeah, that's one of the unique parts of this particular tournament, this flag set, is that because of a lot of things, including the lack of catch-up experience, you have to really plan ahead.
Well, we have both white mages and a magma key.
Berserk now, as always, taking care of our behind-the-scenes team. Scala Kitty, Night Dew, locking it down for us on the restream and the tracking. Shoutouts to both of them.
Yes.
So what do you like to do when you see this magma key? I mean, I guess the answer is often it depends, but do you like making that dive early? Do you prefer to work on overworld stuff anyway?
I like to make the dive early. I want the Feymarch freebie, and I want to set up a Sheila 1. One of the things I really like on this flag set is to get a gated character. Without free characters on, your early options for characters are Hobbs and Baronin. And especially with the Rosa Porum start, that could prove trickier than you might think. So if Feymarch freebie was kind enough to hand over a Hook or a Sand Ruby or something of that nature, then third character can be added to the party with no effort.
100% agree. Looks like our runners do as well. Some items that they might be looking for, Heroine Robe is often a nice pickup if you can get to some of those better treasure spots, that would really set up this particular party to really do work on the overworld.
Yeah, Heron Robe would ease a lot of those concerns about whether or not the characters at Hobbs or Baron Inn can be picked up. Get a lot of speed, slow those spots down, and if it's a boss that likes to punch, is going to discover that Heron Robe offers some amazing protection.
Oscredwin doing exactly what you suggested, parking the airship in front of the entrance to the Fame Arch and getting ready to loot. One of these chests will, of course, be trapped. He'll almost certainly reset when that happens, but that's okay. That's kind of the price you pay for getting this above average loot.
Our unawaited treasure set, T Wildish, so we have the potentials for some very high loot, and it does depend on the location as to how valuable the treasure chest might be, but we also have max tier 6 on. We're not going to be pulling any cheeky crystal swords or Avengers out of untrapped chests.
Yeah, well, we're while our runners are working on some looting, this is a great time to talk about one of the biggest, as Oscredwin picks up the package, but one of the biggest challenges of this tournament, maybe more than any other tournament in free enterprise history, is inventory management. Because, like, even going back to Zima Zone 2 was standard treasure, Fabul Gauntlet Swiss Round standard treasure, Zima Zone 3 wildish treasure, but only 60% of the chests had anything in them. So this tournament, it's wildish and all the chests are filled, and like you said, we can't get any tier 7 items out of them, so you're more likely to keep looting. And shops only give you a quarter of the normal selling price for items. So when you put all that together, there's so much incentive to get treasure, and the inventory boss can sneak up on you really fast.
Can, but managing that loot is key to getting through the seed quickly, without a doubt. Scred not taking a peek at that blue robe, not curious about whether it's a gauntlet or a water hag. I know I'm curious.
Same. I would absolutely be checking that out. That's a very big difference. If you come down there with a full party, that a water hag is pretty doable. The gauntlet, less so.
Yeah, with less than a full party or a very weak party, you'd better be perfectly anchored to pull off some shenanigans there, but I personally would just want the info. Speaking of info, I miss Rumblefish ducking in on the Sand Ruby.
I also had a hard time catching it, but Night 2's got us covered. Edward in the Kaipo bed.
We talked about the possibilities of what might be done with Edward, so Sand Ruby could be very useful.
Also talking about possibilities, you were quite prescient when you talked about finding those gated character spots. That package could lead to a pretty early overpowered party, depending on who shows up there.
Yeah, it's not the ideal because of the nice long cutscene here and in Kaipo, but for this party, you take it most likely. And most likely.
Wow. ZZZ's getting ready to burn down the town. Most nefarious.
Yeah. Apparently, the firemen were sleeping on the job in Village Mist. Tragic.
Rumblefish giving us a look at another character. Finds Tella on top of Mount Hobbs. That is very interesting.
Yeah, Tella isn't the darling he was in the last tournament due to some flag changes that we'll get into. But he's still a solid utility mage.
He'll happily use that Stardust Rod that Rumblefish is rocking.
Yes, he'll pick that up and just wave it right at him. Rumblefish scooped that out of the front of Watery Pass. Rumblefish also making excellent early use of J items to get through this fight before it can cause any problems.
Yeah, this is a good example of how setting your party up with the right loot and the right items can make a really ugly overworld clear into a really speedy one. Like imagine trying to go with this with just Rosa and Porum, and you're just like plinking arrows at enemies, and it takes forever. But once you get a Stardust Rod, once you start throwing around those J items, you're going a lot faster.
Yeah, and it's most valuable early on when your party is weak. Tossing out 600 damage later on in the seed is just not even noticeable.
Yep, it's another skill that just kind of takes time to learn. Also, you have to kind of unlearn your tendencies of like, many of us RPG folks, I'm raising my hand here, will, save an item like, oh, I might need that elixir later. But being a fast free enterprise runner means using your items when they will be the most useful.
I'd like to nominate Oscredwin's victory over Antlion as best grimoire ever. Normally, you get a chocobo and you just go, ah! But the hit points there are so low that it's still got the job done. That's a ninja for Oscred, and that'll be very helpful, no doubt.
For sure. So one of the flags we should talk about, of course, that many of our viewers are probably familiar with at this point, but C Neki means that instead of coming equipped with 2 short swords and a wide variety of excellent gear, Edge has none of that. He has 1 weapon, and that's it. That is what that flag does. Every character randomly comes equipped with a tier 1 to 3 weapon and nothing else. So that makes Edge a lot weaker than he would be on many of the other flags, which I think is a good change. I like that kind of balancing of an otherwise overpowered character. Still quite good. His ninja skills are going to be most helpful, but it's going to take some effort to work him up to what he would be normally.
Yeah, you still take him early. Early on, one of his biggest advantages still hasn't gone away, and that's with that high agility. He serves the same function as a white mage wearing, or a lady rather, wearing a heroine robe. He'll slow down all of your opponents thanks to how relative agility works. And he can still use ninja magic to sweep things, much like Tella's been doing with the Stardust Rod. But yeah, not having that black belt and bandana takes a big chunk out of it.
Rumblefish picking up a very important item for this tournament, the Twin Harp. He can now complete Cave Magnus whenever he feels like he's ready for it. And that is one of our 5 objectives. Both of our runners must complete any 4 of them before they can receive the crystal and win the game. So we will almost certainly be getting some music tonight.
Yeah, which is a lovely thing to have. Much more likely that we will hear whatever randomized harp song the seed brought in. And Graceless Gamer, the package was the freebie check in Feymarch. Rumblefish hasn't dove underground yet.
So Rumblefish making an early roam up Mount Ordeals, I guess looking to power up that Tella. Interestingly, hasn't done the Fabul checks. He might be trying to make the greet up. I'm sorry, I gotta interrupt.
There we go. I was about to say, that's another reason I like the check. Count Demist, there are 3 different bosses we'd like to find, and there are 3 bosses here on Ordeals. There's a reasonable chance you're going to find some sort of progression here. Aside from
yeah, absolutely. I've been surprised how often I've cleared Mount Ordeals over the seeds that I've done. I remember a year ago, a lot of discussion about fading Ordeals, just never going if you could help it. But in this flag set, you often have multiple bosses that you're looking for, which right away makes it a lot more worthwhile for exactly what we're seeing now.
Yeah, and this isn't a bad spot for Octomam at all. The attack here is very weak, and Rumblefish is going to clear this without any trouble.
What I was bringing up earlier is that Rumblefish has not yet done the Fabul defense, nor has he checked on the state of Yang to report it to Sheila and get that first key item there. He may be trying to make the greedy play of waiting till he gets the pan so he can make just one trip to Fabul Castle and never come back again. Definitely a gamble. Definitely could pay off. Oh, that's interesting. He pops a siren up here, looking for some extra power.
It's a reasonable spot for it. If you're going to use a siren overworld, this is my choice. You can either cure or fire the Liliths, whatever you have at your disposal. Either one will work. Trying real hard to get the experience on Porum too.
Understandable. Porum, often considered the lesser white mage, but one of her few advantages is that she picks up some spells a little bit faster than Rosa does. Granted, Tella will kind of be redundant there once Rumblefish finishes Mount Ordeals, but having a few of those would be nice.
Definitely. Berserk in particular comes to mind as what is picked up quicker, and if that edge turns up for Rumblefish, I know he'd appreciate a Berserk every now and again.
So right now the race is in a very interesting place. Oscred, because he went to check the free Feymarch key item, that took him down the package route to pick up the edge. So it looks like he's behind right now. But the edge will probably help him catch up, and I imagine Rumblefish, once he picks up the package, will go through a similar route, and also, I think he'll get the edge, but maybe enough time will pass by the time he gets there that it won't be quite as worthwhile. That'll be a very interesting decision point for him.
Yeah, we'll have to see the Baron character. Just in general, what Rumblefish's party looks like at that point.
So right now, the options available to our runners, Rumblefish is going to finish up Mount Ordeals and then make his way. He could go Twin Harp, although that feels like it might be a little bit early. You just mentioned the Baron Inn. I think that's a pretty reasonable next stop.
Mr. Ha 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 himself hanging out in the waterfall, and Oscred says you can just stay right there.
Yep, we will never return again. He can take his eternal shower in peace.
Yes, David, that was Golden's. Call him Ha 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 for his opening line in combat.
Rumblefish makes it through the back attack boss, no problems. We will see what key item he picks up next. Oscar, meanwhile, he did go check the Yang in the underground, so he can make the 2 key item check here.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like holding out for a single dip for too long. I want to get that Sheila 1 happen. I don't mind waiting on Sheila 1 to go to Fabul if I can, but I don't want to surround for the pan.
Rumblefish picks up a Boreas. Not exactly what you're looking to see. Also, not the boss you're really looking to see here. This is a waste of a free boss.
Nothing but disappointment here inside Cluya's tomb.
Still worth it. Yeah, did find that Octoman, did power up the Tella, so no regrets. But, I mean, still plenty of places to check.
Now, these Zeus gauntlets that the King of Fabul is handing over, those are much appreciated.
Oh, those old things. Yeah, just threw them in that chest over. I kind of forgot they were there. You know, whatever. I guess you can have them. The Sheila 1 check not really paying off either.
Not really, not unless Rydia wants to make an appearance. And Dragon Whip's a fine weapon, particularly. Oh, right, we already beat Paladin. Particularly against eggs.
Yeah, soon is a key word there. We mentioned already that there's no catch-up experience, and oftentimes we play with a setting that gives a character double experience if they're more than 5 levels behind the median of the party. But we've turned that off for this tournament. So that means if you find a character and the rest of your party is already like level 25 or 30, you a lot less likely to pick them up because they're not going to really reach Z-ready levels at the same time as everyone else.
Yeah, it's been that combined with C-Buy being on has caused a lot of runners to commit to a party early and stick with it rather than making last-minute changes. Another reason is that popular method of getting a character caught up quickly is to get all of the experience in one fight up in the giant, doing a D-machine grind. But there's a different flag interfering with that, isn't there?
Absolutely. We've got Vanilla Giant, one of the new flags of the latest update turned on, which means that once you go into the giant, you cannot leave until you complete it, just like in the regular game. Rumblefish, meanwhile, finds the D-Mist in the Baron Inn, guarding a Cecil. A lot of interesting things here.
It makes this a double.
Oh!
Don't fade Baron in this race.
The Cecil's hitting pretty hard for this party, but I think some timely cures, and if
Rose can get one more turn in after the next wave, everything will be fine.
Yeah, I think he's got it.
Yeah, we're good here. There's no XP in this spot, so you don't have to worry about whether people are standing at the end. Just make sure somebody's standing.
Just like that, the boss hunt is over. Octomam and the Dark Knight Cecil both found on the overworld.
With Harp in hand, that puts Rumblefish pretty close to 3. As soon as he can assemble a party that can deal with cave magnets.
Wow! Finds the pan.
Oh! Off the underworld might have cost Rumblefish an early edge. It's going to pay off a little bit in terms of efficiency. He's going to be able to single dip the Sylph Cave and Fabul.
Yeah, I don't think he could have played this much better. I mean, maybe I think there's a good argument that still going to the Fame Arch and getting the package and getting the edge was worth it to do it early, but everything else he's done basically as efficiently as he could have. His decisions have really paid off.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you that when a seed opens up, like with something like a magma star, that what looks like the initial option, obvious, isn't necessarily the best play, depending on how the seed turns out. Only Rose's mom is holding on to an ogre axe for Cecil once he finishes his drinking.
Yeah, ogre axe, a fine pickup. Definitely not going to complain too much there. And because of the nature of T Wildish, depending on how long Rumble wants to keep doing any serious looting, there's a pretty good chance he'll find a holy sword for this Cecil at some point.
Yeah, especially if turning in the Pinktail ends up being the 4th and final objective. But even if it doesn't, our other choice is have Kokol Forged Legend Sword, and that hands over Excal. So, very good chance. Ogre X is enough to have Rumblefish say, I'm going to go after Cave Magnus. Spot has
So,
incredible magic resistance unless you get the split and boot. So, and then don't necessarily feel good about it. For most bosses, you're going to have to attack physically, and until Cecil showed up with that Ogre Axe, Rumblefish really didn't have an answer there.
yeah, this is a pretty bold play. Like, the Cecil can be zerked up, so that's going to help. But the Cecil is also still level 1. So no matter what you equip him with, his damage is going to be a little bit limited. So this might be a little bit of a grind, but the tried and true philosophy of many runners is to check your objectives. So yeah, if Cave Magnus is required, might as well try to do it as soon as possible.
And I do agree with you, it's an aggressive call. I mean, maybe it could just get underground, see if sirens are for sale, crack one egg, especially if coffins are also for sale, and be in a much better position. Rumblefish has been determined to do as much as he can overworld before heading underground, and it's paid off so far. Let's see if that continues.
Oscred actually making the same choice, albeit without the Cecil. He thinks his edge is enough to handle the high magic resistance boss that's going to be here.
So it's another classic case of divergence and convergence. The convergence is at the heart.
Not a bad place to converge.
Spell Barrage quickly wipes out the team. He comes in to save the day and play us a song, so let's be quiet for a moment and see what the board has for us to.
As Oscred finishes this fight, I think it's a good time to jump in and discuss the difference between the setups for these two teams. That Mute Dagger was huge for Oscredwin.
Yeah, definitely. Asura is one of several bosses that is of a mage type, and the Mute Dagger deals quadruple damage to all mages. And even though Oscred went into the fight later, he's leaving with objective 1 sooner.
Rumblefish, I think, is stuck here for quite a while. That Cecil's hitting for between 150 to 450 damage a hit. Every single time you hit, Asura's going to hit back. He's got to constantly make sure that that wall is set up so that Asura doesn't just heal back to full. This is quite the grind without that anti-mage gear.
Yeah, and you were the one that proved to be prescient for this fight, wondering if a level 1 Cecil could get the job done.
Yeah, I think Rumble, the very first thing he did when he got into the fight was scroll through his inventory, just scan like, oh, do I have a mute knife? Do I have mute arrows? Do I have something to use on this boss? And yeah, unfortunately came to the conclusion that he does not.
And like in a lot of other places, you might just reset out and go shopping, but you spend such a long time walking down, going through the Dark Elf fight, and starting up the heart music that you might be better off just accepting your fate if you can get through rather than trying to duck out.
Yeah, I think I agree. He's committed at this point. Trying to bounce some spells with Tella. If you have really high magic power spells to throw at this boss, you can overcome the resistance, but Tella is not quite at that point.
Oscred is making the right play, heading to Baron Inn, and is about to be rewarded with objective 5.
Blue Antoid in the chat asked everybody about where Dark Knight Cecil was. We're seeing that boss right now, but this is a good time as any, I think, to kind of recap the first half hour of this race. Runners started with Rosa and Porum, and were gifted the Magma Key, so they both immediately made a dive underground, but right away there was a key difference. Oscredwin went to the Fey March and got the free key item, which was packaged, which then led to that edge that's in his party. Rumblefish, in contrast, stuck with more overworld checks. What looked like he was rewarded early by finding the Octomam up on Mount Ordeals, the Dark Knight Cecil in the Baron Inn, and getting a pan before ever going to Fabul to kind of limit the number of times he has to go there, but only just now finished this Twin Harp fight. So I think it's anyone's race still. We've seen a lot of differences in their efficiency, but I think I'm not ready to call it yet.
Yeah, definitely not. We still have no sign of the two most troublesome objectives. Each of them require 2 key items to complete. So those remaining key items could be anywhere. It could just be as simple as Pan Sheila 2, and we have possibly the jettiest race this tournament has seen so far, or they could be some sort of rude combo.
Yeah, it happens surprisingly often in these flags where the one key item or one of the objectives gates the other one. Like maybe the rat tail has half of Forge the Crystal, so you have to get the hook if you want to forge Legend Sword with Adamant, that sort of thing. And when they're gated behind each other like that, it turns into a much bigger chase to find that exact spot that you needed to go to.
Yeah, because at that point, that objective is required, and that means you're effectively just looking for one way out. You don't have the option to find a different path.
Oscred picked up the Baron Key from the Mist Dragon check. Both runners defeated the Mist Dragon in the Baron Inn, and Night2 brings up a great point in the chat that it's going to be very important that Rumble remembers that D-Mist was killed. That happened quite a long time ago. It's very easy to forget. I'm pretty sure anyone who's ever run Free Enterprise has done that, has forgotten that they defeated the Mist Dragon, half an hour ago.
No,
We'll see when he goes to to pick that up.
Hopefully soon. You hate to see a runner faded, especially if it does turn out to be important. Time will tell.
Yeah, the Baron Key, it could be. Baron Key is one of those annoying checks where it feels like it takes a while, and because all three of the special bosses we care about, the D-Mist, the Octomam, and the Dark Knight Cecil, have all been found. We don't care that Baron Inn that the Baron Castle has 3 bosses in it, so it's just a lot of cutscenes and boss fighting for one key item and one character.
Yeah. You do have that second key item in the basement, which is another thing that can be overlooked. But it's a fight on par with Feymarch in terms of difficulty. So it's not always as available as Baron. Sheila finally handing over value with that Sheila 2 check, bringing in the hook.
Yeah, this is looking pretty jetty. Very importantly, both runners also have the Sand Ruby here, which means that Rumblefish can go pick up an edge without needing to go through the whole package cutscene. That could save him some time if he decides he only wants the one. Oh, I'm sorry, I mixed that up. It's Edward. That's right.
It's Edward.
Right. Yeah.
Plays into the comments of Jetty if either of our runners are versed in Eddie Strats.
Yeah, wrong Prince. That's a great point. Man, I haven't seen anybody do Edward strats this tournament. Probably somebody has. I just didn't catch it. But that would be quite the twist if that turned out to be the optimal way to finish the seed.
It's not a flag set that speaks to Eddie Strats. Normally, by the time you've gotten 4 objectives, you've already pushed your party into at least the 30s, and you don't need much in the way of a Siren grind, which you can probably get a hold of on S Standard to get ready for Z. You can even steal.
Yeah, exactly.
You might have something fast enough where the grind would take long enough that if you feel confident, you can knock it down on the first go. It would be a play. Amicalosa not as in Spoonward, as in Edward gets Zeromus to nuke himself into oblivion by bouncing the nukes off the walls and hiding from the big bangs. Requires your time, but it's very impressive when it's full.
Edward can solo Zeromus. In fact, he could do it at level 1 if he has the right agility setup.
Yes, you do need to you need to have the right agility set up, and you need to make sure you soak web, and there are some details. It is definitely doable.
Oscar finding a blue robe at the top of the tower, and we didn't see who the other blue robe is hiding in the Feymarch, so I guess we're gonna find out now.
Yeah. Process of elimination will get that done.
I'm not sure. Did Oscar not heal just now?
Oscar did not heal. Oscar is maybe hoping this is a water hag.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it doesn't really matter. If it's water hag, then your party being 1 HP isn't that big a deal. You can just mash through it. If
Yeah,
it's the gauntlet,
it's hard enough that even at full hit points, I think. Okay, yeah, shows what I know. It did matter.
That's all right. Water hag hit the best possible target. I imagine he cares about the experience on everybody else but Tello.
That means we have a gauntlet down there in Feymarch.
Yeah, that would be quite the twist. I can easily imagine both runners just, I think rightly, choosing never to attempt that unless it was absolutely necessary. But if it turns out to be absolutely necessary, that could lead them to clearing the entire game before they go to that. That is the potential that these objectives can have.
Oscredwin is through, just missing some experience on Rosa there. Yeah. I could pass.
Pass ain't bad. In fact, on these flags, because you so often finish the game by going to do the Twin Harp or turning in the Pink Tail or forging the Legend Sword and the Adamant, you kind of have to go to Earth first. So having that shortcut back to the end of the game is real handy.
And we will definitely be on this one ending up either in Adamant Run or in Kolkol's Forge when the crystal is.
I thought for a second that Rumble was about to do that gauntlet. He was like starting to actually do some things with his characters, and that was going to blow my mind if he did not immediately reset out of that. But he thought better of it, decided there are faster things he could be doing, and flies east and north and out of the underground once again. Oh, is he going to go check the... Yeah, he remembered the D-Mist.
There we go. Get your Baron Key. Get paid.
You mentioned earlier that sirens could be stolen on thanks to that edge, and that is exactly what Oscred is doing, using the invaluable cry command from Corum to give himself a little bit better chance of stealing from the alert, and he's going to stack up some sirens so he can get a grind going.
Yeah, cry is just part of what we call FF4 things. It had different plans that would have done things if the game code had ended up in its final form differently, but instead the only actual thing it does is make it easier for Edge to steal, which in the vanilla game you never have the two of them in the party together, so you just kind of shrug.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite part of the whole thing, is this wild interaction between two abilities that should never have happened simultaneously, except that a bunch of rambunctious video gamers 20 years later decided to screw with the whole game, and now we have free enterprise.
And now, thanks to the joy of this randomizer, you can use twin magic with 2 Palums or 2 Porums.
Scala and kind of nerdy housewife giving us the history and the rundown on what Cry is actually supposed to do. Another great time, by the way, to shout out to the folks behind the scenes. Scala handling the restream for us, Night Dew handling tracking for us. Please respect and thank and love all the people behind the scenes who make Free Enterprise as awesome as it is.
Yeah, it really is one of the best communities around a randomizer that there is. If you're checking this out and it looks like a lot of fun to you, we definitely encourage you to head over to the website and to the Discord and take a look. There are any number of us that are more than happy to share what we've learned of this randomizer with people that are just joining in. So come on in, have fun.
Oscred, even after getting the sirens that he wanted, still continuing to loot, looking for more trap chests, looking for those high tier weapons. The Ogre Axe is nice for Cecil, but it's nothing compared to one of his holy swords. Also could be looking for better edge weapons too. I think he's still working with like a mute knife and boomerang or a full moon, something like that.
Which isn't the worst in the world. There's a lot of weaknesses you can exploit. The boomerang will go after flying enemies, and oh wait, no, that was probably a Thunderclaw right there.
Yep.
Ooh, power shirt. That's good times.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Solid physical defense, worthless against magic, but plus 15 to strength, which any physical attacker appreciates the extra damage and practically guaranteed an extra swing of the weapon as well. For 16 point. Oh,
Rumble, meanwhile.
Agility.
Sorry, I think I cut off your last point there. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm saying roller beams anyway. It's 8. Humble.
Yeah, doing that Baron key check. Again, a lot of divergence, which I guess we should have expected when we got that magma key right at the start of the seed. He's checking the Baron castle. Oscar went up the tower. Oscar not rewarded for the tower play. We'll see if anything comes from this Baron check. Interestingly, Rumble also still only has 4 people in his party, has not found a 5th party member, and the gated character at the end of this could be very good. I think a Fu would probably round things out nicely. Kane would be great to go with that Dragoon Spear that both of our runners have gotten.
Or it could be a duplicate form.
Could be a duplicate form. Oscar has gone back to the Fey March and taken a cabin, which suggests, or rather a tent, which suggests that he plans on doing the Fey March bosses, which is very interesting because he knows that one of them is the Gauntlet. He already saw the other blue robe at the top of the tower.
But the other one I think is Karate.
That is correct. You have a better memory than me. So actually, this is quite doable. Yeah.
Pulled over from the vanilla game, where once Yang sets up for his second kick, Cecil taps him at any point after that. He just goes, ouch, and the fight is over.
Had to get a little lucky there on the targets, but gets through it no problem. Ouch, says the Yang, and Oscar gets another key item check.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one, I would say. I'd say that's fairly important.
Yeah, it could be. Another gated character like you've been talking about, and if the key items we're looking for, Pinktail, for instance, is on the moon, then Oscred is jumped back into the lead.
There's always so much tension on when to go to the moon. I think that's true in most free enterprise races, but I feel it especially in this tournament. Oscar still has some things he could do. He could still go do Baron. He could do the Dwarf Castle. He could sit through the Gauntlet in Fey March, which sounds like a pretty bad idea, but he could do it. But instead, choosing to go up to the moon right now might stay there, might not. So many important decisions to make here that'll really set the tone for the rest of the seed.
And Night Dew brings up a good point. Neither runner has hit Dwarf Castle yet. Lots of options, but there's a lot of checks on the moon. And when you get 3 objectives as fast as our runners had, there's that pressure of, did the other person already find the 4th? Yeah. So good time for everyone from Randomania 2 to join us. Pretty
Welcome.
Good. 3 objectives down and halfway to a 4th. Welcome.
Yeah, the seed opened up quite quickly. We started out with the Magma Key. Both runners kind of went off in different directions, ended up with some different party members, are still working on checking different things. And yet they each have 3 objectives, so this could very easily go either way.
Yeah, our bosses were not coy. Octomom was hanging out in the Mylon and Friends spot. Dark Knight Cecil was in the Baron Inn 2 spot. And look at that, we have a Legend Sword in the Baron basement, in the Baron pot, rather.
That could be a huge deal if Rumble finds the exact right place where the adamant's at, or I guess you could think about it this way. Rumble now has 2 chances at finding the end of this seed. He could find the pink tail, or he could find the adamant, and either way, he will be ready to go, pending getting the pass or the darkness crystal. On Oscred's side, however, he found something very interesting on the moon.
Yeah, Dathis, thank you for bringing the vanilla with you. We actually didn't have any until now.
Yeah, that's true. Fusoya, ultimate mage, user of all magics, sitting where you normally find them, up on the moon. I think he is the perfect party member to round out this team. At this point, almost certainly has, yep, there's the nuke. He is ready to do some work.
Finally gifting our runners with a little vanilla. That's a treat. But yeah, I agree. This is a Z party. Comfortable going after the Z with this. We've got Tele Anchor, we've got Power Couple, we've got Fu with all of the magic, and we've got a ninja that at least has a ninja blade, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it just Rumblefish that found
that? I'm not sure.
I think it was in the Baron's shop in one of the chests in the back.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, that means that Rumble's the one that got it, because he made all those checks. Rumble, meanwhile, chose to tackle the boss at the basement of the inn, I keep saying the inn, the Baron Castle. Almost runs into disaster, but the second D-Lunar bounces the spell back onto himself. Lunar Frog strats have been activated, and the rest of this fight is free.
Yeah, Lunar Frogs is a wonderful strat. Bounce their breath back on themselves and thus penetrate their boss immunity to statuses, and then just watch as they try to punch you for one and fail utterly at using virus.
The origin of the Lunar Frog strat is maybe like my favorite thing that's ever come out of Free Enterprise. It's incredible that this is like a thing that really nobody knew about. I mean, I'm sure someone somewhere in the universe played Final Fantasy 4/2 and happened to turn the lunar dragons into frogs, but really nobody really knew about it until the randomizer led to it happening accidentally.
I don't know the story.
I think the way it goes, and forgive me, I don't remember who it was. Probably somebody. Thank you, Skull. You want to tell the rest of the story? Oh, whoops. All right, just kidding.
All right. Just know that it was Dipwood in the first Zemus tournament. I waited the Zemus song.
One other important part about Rumble's party is that Cecil is rocking some kind of holy weapon. I think probably bought a light sword if I had to guess, but I did not catch what he ended up giving that Cecil.
Yeah, I think light sword. That's a Zerk Cecil, and even with only those low levels, I think Excal or Crystal would be doing better off Zerk.
We talked earlier about making ambitious plays when talking about both runners going for that twin harp. Oscred, again, making some pretty aggressive plays on the moon, diving in without a terribly high-level party. Really, that Fu is the only impressive person. And he's trying out the bosses to see what his options are. Looks like they're pretty brutal.
Definitely pretty brutal. I'm gonna dip over here with those sirens he stole and deal with these King Ryus, which
this is also going to be pretty brutal.
So we might just be looking for a week and cut them down and survive the blitz.
Yep.
But in time, no mode.
Yep. Or at least close. The irony is that Oscred has found both ways to the moon, and Rumble has found neither. But it should
Rumble
just be
go to the moon, it's not go.
yeah, but it should just be a matter of time till he finds one or the other, and he will be ready to take on Zeramis. Go mode in 50 minutes is quite impressive.
That's a super required Baron in. It had Dark Knight Cecil, and it had D-Mist, which gave us the Baron key, which opened up both pieces of Forge behind it.
Wow, that's a good point. You're 100% correct. The Baron in super duper required.
Ass was top of tower. Darkness Crystal was ouch at Fingers. Rumblefish is not going to leave Karate alone for too long.
Wolf Koopa, not sure how to pronounce it, but was moon haunted. We don't know. The pink tail could be up here on the moon, which would make it not haunted and would in fact give Oscred go mode if he finds it up here. But it turned out that there was a way to the end of the game just with Earth key item checks.
Yeah, and we saw this so many times in the last tournament that I don't expect it to be different in this tournament. Now, you have a situation here where Rumblefish looks to be clearly in the lead, and honestly is. But, as you said, if Oscred finds the pink tail in a check, and out of nowhere, he can come in. And especially if Rumblefish isn't terribly comfortable with low-level strats and still needs to grind, that would give Oscred more time to figure out what he's doing, because he's going to have to grind to get through this moon.
Yeah, that was that's the one area where he's clearly well, I guess two areas. He has found a way to the moon, and his party is stronger. Rumble, even if he picked up the passive Darkness Crystal right now, would probably be pretty reluctant to go into the Z fight just like this. Gonna need some kind of setup. Gonna need at least a little bit more HP if he wants to do the infamous, famous 1200 HP strats. But both runners have a little ways to go.
Yeah, and this is something that happened a lot more often in the last tournament, where runners would get go mode pretty early on and then have to figure out how to get ready for Z. Typically with the 4 out of 5 and with 2 of them being Trade Pink Tail and Forge, we have runners very close to Z levels by the time they find them.
You alluded to it earlier, but I think a lot of folks in this position, or maybe even before now, well, I guess not before now. In Rumble's case, he hasn't found the Darkness Crystal, but the Giant of Babel, the D-Machine grind, used to be a pretty reliable option for getting that grind going once you had somebody who could cast weak. But I think basically nobody has gone for that. I haven't noticed anybody choosing to go up to the Giant to do a D-Machine grind, unless they had reason to believe objectives were on the Giant.
Yeah, I've only done it once in practice myself, and only because I had a party for it, and I had a Rude Hook Route and a Rude Moon, and it was a perfect storm of, you know what, I'll take the shot. I also had 2 bosses I was looking for that I hadn't seen, so very rare.
Yeah. Before the tournament, I thought like it'd be like a sometimes thing, but I guess the way the meta has shaken out, it's just you can so often get the experience you need through other ways. As you've said it several times, you can just kind of get it by playing the game. This is the one rare case where the runner's completed 4 objectives, but actually doesn't even have a way to get to the final boss, much less the levels to beat it.
You want to pick up Edward from the bed in Kaipo.
He's lurking. He is always there. Rumble, looking for that way to the moon, decides to check out the Dwarf Castle. We know that this will not pay off what he needs. We will learn what key item is here and what character is here.
Well, if we learn that the pink tail's here, then Oscred is very, very sad.
Oh yeah, that would mean that everything needed to finish the game, the Twin Harp, both parts of Forage, the pink tail, the hook, and both bosses would all be on the blue planet.
Completely haunted moon, not even needing it to open up access to anything on Earth.
Oscred is gonna start working through those. Moon checks now feels like he has enough levels to try to tackle the evil wall here at the Lunar Dragon Ribbon Room. This is a pretty rough spot for the evil wall, actually, because of the way it cheats its agility, and because of how high a level this boss spot is, it just makes it a huge pain no matter what your anchoring is.
And we've got Dark Elf in the back of Baron Castle and a duplicate ninja.
Although I guess for Rumblefish, this is his first ninja. So I guess kind of going the long way around, he did ultimately save time on getting his edge. He did not go through the package cutscene, and instead picked him up here. Although I guess if we're being fair, the Dwarf Castle we know is also unnecessary. But still, it's just funny how both runners kind of got to the same place without, by different means.
Yeah, it's good to see. You've got a lot of different ways you can tackle a seed, not just getting your go mode, but getting your party and your levels.
Night making a great point. Rumblefish has picked up lots of good edge weaponry over the course of this seed that he will happily equip him with now. So between the edge and the Cecil, all his melee needs should be easily covered.
And it's looking good, and we know that he's close. He just needs to get to the right spot in the underworld, and it's not as if he has a lot of other options for where to go, honestly.
Yeah, I guess all he has left are the two Feymarch bosses, right? I think he's done everything else. Oh, that's right, the top of tower. Which, if he does the top of tower, he might decide just to never actually go to the moon. He could steal a bunch of sirens, power level on eggs, and just take the pass.
It's probably his best option, both in terms.
Yeah.
And the fight will be longer. Volbez is definitely longer than Karate and Feymarch. But he'll save himself that walk down.
One thing he does miss out on is the Fu, who is, of course, up on the moon. And Fu does enable a lot of grind options. Although I guess he still has the Tela, so the Tela kind of does all the same things.
And that spoon, and if anything, we're going to prompt Rumblefish to pick up Edward, it would be that spoon. So, I don't think it's going to happen.
Probably not. The spoon also quite good for throwing. Just get a free 10,000 damage on Zero Mist.
And it does make a good dart, I suppose.
Back over to Oscred's side. The evil wall is... it's a meanie. It's a bad time. Nobody really wants to fight the evil wall. And yet, it approaches all the same. Oh, clutches it out.
Hey! Oscred makes it through a rude evil wall. Nicely done. It's a ribbon room. 2 chances. Oh, we have a vanilla ribbon.
Womp, and Womp.
Ironically, we kind of appreciated that ribbon beforehand. Wouldn't have had to worry about petrification, and if you just survive until Evil Wall gets to the end, you can laugh at his attempts to crush you.
Right. All right. Oscred continues his hunt for, well, what we know is he needs the pink tail. Exactly. He will find nothing else useful to him on the moon. Next, I believe he'll be tackling Odin in the next boss.
Rumblefish here. Yeah, this will be a darkness crystal in a moment. I would have to pick my jaw up off the floor if Rumblefish started with it.
He's looking at that blue rope. I guess Rumble doesn't know which boss this is. He hasn't been to the tower, so he doesn't know that the water hag's up there. Now, what he should do is he should stop. He should like you know, let's do the karate first. But it looks like he's gonna commit to this.
You know, I really should learn to quit predicting winners. I doubt I ever will. I'll take you up on that later, Scala.
I guess Rumble, maybe he's thinking like, I need the levels anyway, so I'll just grind through this. If it turns out to be important, then I don't want to have skipped it. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe it has the pink tail, and it was also secretly required. But probably doesn't matter. Rumble probably has a sufficient lead where this will be okay. And that's an important part of these flags, actually, is that nobody is going to play in them perfectly. We saw earlier, like Oscred, he beat that Ashura at the Twin Harp way faster than Rumblefish, but Rumblefish did some things better than Oscred did. You just have to do your best and make as few mistakes as you can. You don't have to be perfect.
And Random Chicken makes a good point. Rumblefish isn't at Z levels. You know, one of the joys of a Alt Gauntlet, is that it's a decent sort of source of XP if you happen to need it.
Yeah, he is actually plowing through these enemies a little faster than I expected to. The Riddy is doing a lot of damage with the viruses. The Cecil on the edge easily take out anything that gets summoned.
Now, Friend Clapper. Oh, looks like somebody managed to dodge the blitz. That's good.
Back over on Oscred's side, the Odin fight did not pay off, just found the crystal ring. Now diving down to the Ogopogo spot, wisely bouncing spells off of a wall onto the elements in order to skip the other phases of the fight. Like every other boss in this game, reflected abilities don't trigger counter attacks, and elements phase shift from one fiend to another fiend is a counter. So by reflecting, you avoid meeting anyone other than Mylon and easily take out the fight.
Yeah, because the second part, the Rubicant, just deals some devastating AoE fire attacks that you'd rather not mess with.
Another blank for Oscred, that Artemis bow, not what he needs. Not surprising. He needs exactly one item, so odds are any given spot is not going to have it. All he can do is commit to this moon play. He has no choice but to finish everything and hope he gets what he needs.
He hasn't even found any new items to tempt him to go back to Earth. You make the last thing you want to do is keep going back and forth, back and forth. So Got to play it out and hope. He is at least leveling up.
That's true. He will probably be ready for Zeramis by the time he finishes all the moon bosses. Widow, that's correct. Oscar did not ever fight the alt gauntlet at the Fey March. He just took care of the Yang, which has the darkness crystal that Rumblefish is looking for. So as soon as Rumblefish wraps up the gauntlet, he'll probably go back, heal, and then get go mode.
Most likely. Oscred, meantime, finding Dr. Dialogue and his friend Grr. So rude when your character goes to use an item and just as they get the bottle in hand, they get whacked upside the face and falls to the ground and crashes.
Yep. Gone forever. Totally useless. Can't we just pick that up? It's laying right there. No,
Broke.
absolutely not.
Broke. Well, that's not a pink tail, but it is a tier 7 item and a very useful one at that.
Edge is officially decked out. Doesn't have a hat. He's got everything else. Oscar clears another
It's
moon
about
boss.
as good as it comes unless you're fortunate enough to find twin Masamune.
True.
Ag.
I'm surprised he reset out of that. The experience isn't like tremendous at that spot, but it's still something.
He's in the habit of resetting.
That's fair. That's fair. And he's still not that far off of Z level, so it's probably still fine.
Close. If you have skill with nerfing big bangs, you can beat Z with this party.
I wish I did. I wish I did. For me, nerfing big bangs often feels more like luck than skill, but I know that it's not. I know that if you know exactly what you're doing, you can power through it. So I hope that if that's what it comes to, Oscar is more prepared than I would be.
Warlink, I believe you're correct. I don't think you can get the pink tail without going to the moon at this point. I think we've seen everything on Earth.
Yep, it's either at this Pale Dim spot, it's at Cave Bahamut, or it's behind the Tower or Luca keys, or I guess Rat Tail into one of those. Earth Crystal's still. Actually, there could be a giant chain that leads to Pink Tail. That could be pretty rough.
Maybe. Hard. D-Mist was in Baronin and had the Baron key.
Yep, incredibly important D-Mist.
To all of
Rumblefish, of course, picks up the Darkness Key, is officially in go mode. Just needs to do the last of his preparation. He must have remembered that there. Yeah, that's great. Maybe he saw this earlier, but just couldn't afford it and dipped back in here to pick it up. But that will set him up quite nicely.
Yeah, he's done a good job of keeping Tell on the ground, but now, not a concern.
The last question for him will be, how does he grind up? I see. So he's gonna look for sirens, or rather look to buy them if he can help it. So he's gonna get the hovercraft, go to Cave Evelyn, and hope that the sirens are there or on the moon. Barring that, he'll just have to steal them if he's committed to doing a full-on grind.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right about what Rumblefish's plan is here. Makes a lot of sense.
I wonder how Rumble's feeling right now. Because on the one hand, if you're in go mode an hour, 10 minute into the seed, that's usually quite fast. But he also knows that like his Ashura fight at Twin Harp was pretty slow, and that the alt gauntlet was totally unnecessary. So it wouldn't surprise me if Rumble's actually feeling a lot of tension right now. It's easy to imagine that his opponent is also ready to go.
Yeah.
The pigtail.
And in fact, his opponent is.
He found it.
Pinktail hanging out behind Wyvern at Murasame Altar. And fans, we have a race.
I think Oscar jumps back into the lead with that. His party has higher levels.
The levels, it's going to be close though. It's going to be close enough.
Wow.
I think whoever gets into their Z fight first will still be fighting Z when the other runner shows up. And I couldn't tell you which one it's going to be.
That's amazing. Moon officially not haunted. Took some effort. Turned out it was almost the last place he checked, but he found some hope.
Gosh, I'm watching Rumble set up his siren grind flying through the menu, and I can almost hear his heart pounding from here.
Yeah. That dude brings up a great point. Rumblefish has not visited the moon yet, so he doesn't know that Fusoya, a full-powered Fusoya, is up there waiting for him. That would probably go a long way toward helping his party out. Although I guess, I don't know, who would he replace? Probably the Rydia. Actually, definitely the Rydia. The Fusoya knows nuke. The Rydia does not.
He doesn't grind all the way to nuke, and I don't expect him to. And when he gets up there, it's Rydia for Fu and has a nuke and an extra.
Also important, Oscred has the pass that he got from climbing up to the top of the tower earlier. Rumblefish is going to have to walk all the way through the moon.
And Oscredwin is down to 2 sirens. I don't know if he's going in right now or if he's going to do something quick with those 2. He's making some room in the inventory. Life's looking a little cluttered. So Pinktail turn-in was the Masamune, so Edge can be a little bit stronger. Finds no staff for Rosa. Wait, is that his first? Oh, it's Rumble that had the.
Yeah.
So that's actually a huge upgrade for him. That's the first decent piece of Hanzo steel that Oscred got. It'll be close.
Super close. I'm quite pleased. I'm glad that that both runners took very different paths through this seed, and yet are going to converge at the end very close to each other.
It does look like Osred is going in now.
All right, this is going to be a tough test, but I understand, given how quickly all the objectives were assembled. You can't help but feel correctly that the other runners got to be in a very similar place as you, so you take some risks.
Yeah, and if you think you have a chance, and you go for it. Is it nap time?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that's correct. It is nap time. Unfortunately, nap time also means burning down the whole village, as we saw from the package, but it also means it's time to kick some butt.
It is. It is indeed time. So, you've already seen the randomized harp song, but another thing that we randomize here is the Zeromus sprite. The crystals used, and Zeromus transforms into his final form. It's one of, we're over 500 now, different possibilities. Sorts of video game characters and other fun references. And it does leave us with a question: whose butt are we gonna kick tonight?
We are up to over 500 different random final bosses, all of which do the same thing, but all of which look different. Really incredible work by all the folks putting together amazing sprites, including our restreamer Scala.
This is a new one for me. Have you ever seen this
amazing.
one?
I think I've seen it once before, and it is fantastic.
Nice. So this is what you actually see in the vanilla game if you use the pass, as opposed to seeing a one-way trip to Zeromus.
The deadly dance with Dance Miss begins.
Dancers are shaking.
I really gotta impress like what a scary fight this is for Oscred. He has one party member who is barely above 2,000 health. Everybody else can easily be blasted away by a nuke, as we just saw, or more importantly, that Big Bang. If the nerfs are not all extremely precise. Just in case anybody's not aware, I guess we should probably explain nerfing, given how important it is for this fight.
So, first one's easy. All you have to do is hit Zeromus to use a counter nuke before the first Big Bang comes in. After that, it's a lot more subtle. The way Zeromus' script works is that after he does the shake that lets you know Big Bang is coming, he waits a moment and then sets his spell power very, very high. And after he does that, he smashes you with the Big Bang. Now, if you can provoke him into using a counter nuke between those last two steps, he lowers his spell power for the nuke and then forgets to charge it back up. So you take a lot less damage from the Big Bang if your timing is perfect.
Yep, it's all to kind of make it balance out. There's a reason why the nukes that Zeromus uses usually hit in the 2,000 damage range instead of the 8,000 when our party members use the spell.
Yeah, pretty much.
The timing to get that nerf is quite precise, or at least it can be. If you're not practiced at it, you have to you might think, okay, he's shaking, I'll just go into the menu now and use it. But that's actually too soon most of the time. You have to give him that little moment, like you said, to switch the battle speed over and then provoke the counter. Ooh.
That is not a nerfed. That's a full damage, and I don't think Rosa's going to get a turn it. Oh, Cure 4 was cured up!
Clutch.
Rosa bringing in the clutch Cure 4 with 1 hit point!
Wow!
Oh my goodness!
That was it. If Rosa did not get in there, that was the end of the fight, maybe the end of the race. But instead, he can continue powering through. Now the problem is that Zeromus is shaking again.
If Oscred doesn't cast that Cure 4, have that cast before the Big Bang comes in, as he's doing now, there's just no time. She runs out of HP. Here comes another one.
She lives again!
Hanging on! And has a Cure 4 ready to go!
What a hero!
Doesn't have to nerf, but he is showing off the strength of Power Couple. And sure enough, here comes Rumblefish right behind.
What a race. This is all going to come down to whether Oscar can execute this extremely difficult fight, because Rumble has lots of levels. I expect him to get through this no problem. Oscar just has to find a way to deal with all this incredible damage. Rosa surviving another hit.
He's got some good defensive gear. I mean, Rosa's got decent magic defense as she levels, but 15 is not the point where I expect her to be surviving like this. There's at least a ribbon, probably that crystal ring too.
Fu, meanwhile, running out of MP. All he can do is throw that either one. Oscar's more than halfway through this fight. We know that because Zeramis has been direct casting nuke spells, which means that it is in phase 2. So he's not too far from the end. He just has to survive.
Yeah, but Rumblefish should definitely have a quicker time through. He should be able to keep everyone standing without the down to the wire that Oscred has dealt with, and have two strong Zerkers tearing in to Oscred.
Big heads up play by Oscred. Equips the Lilith Rod, which has the built-in psych spell, so I can get more MP from the edge. Cecil would also work well, as Night Dew mentions. Oh no!
There it is. Power Couple finally falls. There's one big bang in phase 2. Gets an extra roll for damage, and I think that was the one. And oh, here comes a shake in. Rosa heal herself in time to survive this big bang.
This is so tense.
Hanging on.
There's still a chance.
Oh, even queued up the life, not the cure 4, which makes sense.
Yeah, big heads up play.
Gotta get people standing. Kane Oscred hasn't even attempted a single nerf. It's just going in the raw strength of Power Couple to try and get through this, and it's slowed down the damage, whereas Rumblefish is just, for sheer hit points, is able to keep the pedal to the metal.
I didn't think we would get to this point, but it's possible that Rumble could just catch up. It's been pretty slow going for Oscred.
Oh, absolutely possible. That nuke target's probably the best thing that could have happened for Oscred there. A little more damage from it, but honestly, that's not what you're hoping. Rumblefish on the other side's doing classic hybrid strats. Swing with Zerkers, you set up a wall, you bounce high-level magic off the wall so as not to trigger a bunch of unnecessary counter nukes, and you just tear into Zeramis. Got there later, but he might finish.
Rocks.
We have rocks! We have rocks for Oscred!
For both of them!
Last phase, folks! And rocks for Rumblefish!
Oh my god.
3 seconds. 3 seconds official difference means tie and potential retime. Here we go.
Rumblefish got it.
Alright, wait for official times. There's often a difference between the time you see on screen and the official time because restreaming things, but Rumblefish's time is official at 1:25:55. GG.
GG.
We'll see what Oscred's time, and there's the flash. And Oscred's official time, 1:26:27. That is 28 seconds difference. Wow. That's a heck of a race. Good job. Both our runners had very different approaches throughout the seed. And their routing, their party comp, and how they tackled the final fight. And it came down to the wire.
It blew my mind. I said at the start that I thought it might be close, but this surpassed all my expectations. What a fantastic race. These two runners are really good. What a show.
We're joined by both of our runners. Congratulations to you both. Thanks for putting on. Heck of a show.
Thanks so much.
Amazing.
And GG's. Yeah, I can kind of, just by that, I mean, of course I couldn't see my Oscredwin stream, but just by the fact that we had such close finishes, it must have been really dramatic.
It was. Because
You have no idea.
put it very differently. Oscar got that darkness crystal before and never went into Baron, and so spent a while up on the moon, and eventually found the pink tail up there, and you never went there, but go watch the VOD.
All right, I guess we'll start by asking Rumblefish some questions. First of all, what was your approach at the start of the seed when you saw the magma key and things were open right from the get-go?
I think it's like the general theme of this seed was that was just going to hand everything I needed right ahead, ahead of time. I mean, we had two of the goals are bosses, and those bosses were early on. One in Baron Inn and the other in Monardios. You can cross that off pretty quickly, and then I was able to. Then I found the Twin Harp pretty early on, and then also so I was able to do Cave Magnus, and then I was able to do Forge of the Crystal. So the last thing was, just finding a way for me to get to Zeromus, and so I mean it was just kind of an adrenaline pumping seed because everything was handed to me. I thought, oh my, like this is probably something that Oscredwin is also getting because things are coming like up so quickly. So it was kind of like run until you got to the end. So, and I have to say, like, in addition to, this is also a personal best for me, an hour and 25 minutes, or however much that was. So, it was generous. The city was generous to me in many ways.
Probably the coolest part of the whole race, and Commander already alluded to this, was how both of you kind of took different routes really throughout the whole thing. Obviously, you both picked up the Octomam and the Dark Knight Cecil and did the Twin Harp, but otherwise there were a lot of big differences. For example, Oscar, I'll ask you, you picked up that package pretty early. Were you sure that getting the edge there was like definitely something you wanted to do that early in the seed? Not hearing anything from you, Oscar, if you're able to hear me.
Okay. Sorry, I had my mic muted.
No problem.
Good.
The edge was a very marginal take. I know I really need to get some attack power at the very beginning of the seed so I can just start plowing through bosses. Double white mage start, if I don't find a heroine robe and a good bow, is going to be a little tough. And I didn't have any good weapons for Edge, but it turns out Edge doesn't need great weapons, like a boomerang and a middle sword is enough for him to really clear out the overworld and do a lot of damage in the underworld. He's my boy, and
And
I
having that mute knife on him was critical for you early. The first place the two of you first was Twin Harp, and Rumblefish got there first, but with the mute knife, you left first.
Yeah, Berserked Edge took 2 turns, took 2 hits, and Ashura was down.
I'm sure Rumblefish can tell you what a grind it was for him on his version of the fight.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was spending way too much time there, and that was like one instance where I thought like that I made a mistake by coming here too early, not having the right equipment, because I really had to do a lot of finagling and I really got through Asura by the skin. It took quite a grind, and I kind of got through the end by the skin of the teeth because the reflect wore off on her, and she was going to start healing herself.
Ooh.
So, yeah, it was a slog for me to get through Asura.
Yeah, I was actually pretty happy with my routing of the seed. I wasn't super happy with my foray into Lower Babel, but like I did a bunch of looting. I was looking for something good in the trap chests. I was looking for an opportunity to steal some sirens because I don't like how unreliable they are in the gated shops. And the pass was good enough. Like the pass, I figure, made that a time save. Doing that, even with the looting.
Yep, yeah, you're exactly right. That turned out to be very important at the end. Your senses were correct. You took a very difficult Z fight, but you sort of had to because, as we know, the race was incredibly close. But before that, the one other major decision I'll ask you about, knowing that there's no right answer here, is that you chose to go to the moon relatively early and start trying to clear that out instead of clearing some of the Earth spots. And as we now know, the Barren Castle had both parts of Forge, but of course there was no way of knowing at the time. How did you choose to balance that out? What was your thinking in making that early moon dive?
Honestly, I was pretty sure. Honestly, I think like 9 times out of 10, you play a seed that looks like this. At least half the Forge is on the moon. I was worried about the pink tail not being on Earth. But half the Forge is on the moon or behind the moon. But I'm happy to do that moon call. I'm happy to do it again. It was also a good place to get my grind. I got some. My grind was not as smooth as I liked it. I was actually not pretty happy. I was not very happy with my execution on the moon. I think if I cleaned that up, I would have done a lot better. But
I respect to you for not having regrets, though. I think that's a huge skill and mindset thing for runners. Is it's so easy to look back and say like, oh, I wish I had made this decision, but that's not really how you should make the decisions, right? So I'm glad you feel good about what you did.
No more boss hunts, no more demist, no more character hunts. The moon was where the value was. I was going to get my levels. I was going to get key items if I actually found key items or a crystal sword or something up there, which you're going to find most times if you try this. Then I'm going to be plowing. I get a crystal sword on like the white altar or something. I plow through the rest of the moon super fast, and I finish like 4 minutes faster than I did.
So yeah, I had the opposite experience because like the Darkness Crystal was like the last thing that I got that I needed to get for my access to Zeromus. And for me, like the major thing was getting the Forge the Crystal early, because then of course you have access to the shop, and it didn't like it didn't have anything all that fantastic. He just had I think I just picked up Leviathan and a Life Staff, but I also got Excalibur Forge, and that was really helpful to boost my attack power.
Did you check the blue robe at Leviathan spot first time down into Feymarch?
No, I exited out because I didn't think I'd be able to take on it. I think I tried testing with the Fable Gauntlet thing, and I thought, well, this isn't going to be worth it. And then I thought Yang actually was going to tear me up before I could, because that Asura spot is so speedy, and then if Yang is going to hit me and tick at me, I thought I wasn't going to survive it. So I thought I kind of momentarily faded until I had some more firepower. But
once I had a Cecil with diamond armor, I went down there pretty fast.
Yeah, Rumble
ahead of Dwarf, ahead of Baron.
I'll cut in here to ask you about that Gauntlet, Rumble. One thing you did at the end was you chose to take the Gauntlet before you chose to take the Yang fight. And I'm curious if you had any like specific reasoning for that, or you just didn't think about the Yang being like a fast fighter or whatever. Just curious why you chose to do it in that order.
I thought I might be able to get some levels through the Fable Gauntlet fight, and because I think you get more out of it as opposed to a boss fight. That could be wrong though, but of course I didn't know which was going to be the correct fight.
Right.
So
Sure.
it ended up being that order.
And you did wind up needing levels, so there's that.
But I have a question for you guys though, because how did the Zeromus fight go? Because that was probably my best executed Zeromus fight ever. I mean, I think I just wailed on Zeromus. I think, and so I must have been behind,
Red got in well before you, and a couple of times kept Rosa alive by the skin of her teeth with a tier 4, but had to turn off the offense just to recover, whereas you had a fully powered hybrid party, so you were able to just put the pedal to the metal.
I was going in,
and never had to stop to recover.
I was going into that fight at level 40 with the defense sword Cecil, Maza, middle sword Edge, and Rosa with 1500 HP.
Yeah, huge respect to you. I can't believe how well you handled that fight. That was so amazing to pull that off on your first go.
That was everything I had. Rosa was out of MP, Fu was out of MP, I used my elixir, I used my ether. I was trying to Lilith Rod Edge.
It was impressive. It was very impressive.
Yeah, because my experience with Zeromus was completely the obvious. I felt like I was very confident in my levels, and I was able to wail on. I had double Hanzo Edge, Excalibur Cecil, Nuke with Fusoya, and then got a few whites off with Rosa, and I mean it was just basically that was probably my best executed Z fight ever. So.
And you needed it to pull ahead at the last second. So
I'm
going to put you at 1-1, Oscred, and Rumble move you up to 2-0. But anyone that watched you do this, Oscred, is definitely going to be looking over their shoulder if they come up against you next, because this was quite impressive. That was a rude moon, and like you say, if that moon is any more reasonable, finish considerably sooner.
How many times did I try that evil wall fight? 3, 4?
Right? That evil
and then
wall,
I beat it by the skin of my teeth, and yeah.
And just having to make so many checks to finally find your pink tail. I mean,
yeah.
Well, it sounds like quite a match.
About next week.
I'm feeling pretty good. I was feeling pretty good going into this race. I feel like I did, 90. I did a really good job. I could have done the moon a little bit better, but otherwise, I'm really happy with the way I routed it. I think 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100, that's the right way to route it. That's gonna find things faster, and I think I am learning how to do these Z fights with weak parties. I was thinking about jumping down and grabbing, doing an egg or two, and then going into the Z fight. I don't know if that was going to be faster or not, but I decided not to do it. If anybody knows if that's faster or not, or has thoughts about that, I'd be interested to chat about it on Discord.
I mean,
And
either of you wanted to stream, pull up the stream and provide your commentary on the race, I think you'd have plenty of people that'd be happy to tune in and share their advice.
so heading into next week, now that I am 2-0, I am I'm just mortified. I'm just kind of shaking in my boots here a little bit, because I'm gonna be paired with somebody else's 2-0, and I know there are a lot of really fantastic runners in the Lali-Ho tournament, and I have to confess, usually I am not a top player of Final Fantasy Free Enterprise, so no, I'll probably get some incredibly stiff competition. So I have a little trepidation about who I'm going to face next. But at the same time, I've earned getting here, so
Right.
I should be able to be a match for who's ever going to be paired with me.
Oh, absolutely. Don't doubt that, either of you. I don't have to worry about facing you, Rumblefish. I'm 0-1, but I'm running up against Oscred next week, and I will definitely be bringing my A game.
All right. Do we have any more questions for the Commander?
No, do either of you have any final thoughts?
It was a really good race. I caught the end of the restream. We were at Meteo phase at the same time, which was very bad for me. But I'm really looking forward to watching the whole thing again.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to check out the race myself and get it from your guys' perspective.
Fantastic. Well, this was my first race commentating in this specific tournament, and I feel like I should retire. I don't think it gets better than that.
It always gets better.
I guess so. But really, like, shout outs to both of you for giving us an incredible show, capping off another excellent night of Free Enterprise. Shout outs to Scully Kitty on the restream. Shout outs to Night Dew on the tracking. And of course, shout outs to my co-commentator, Commander Leonhardt. It was a pleasure.
And a shout out to you as well, Prof. Corey. I had an excellent time doing comms. Everyone, give the runners, give the restream team a follow. They put on a great show. They'll be practicing hard for weeks to come. You're going to do that. And with that, we are going to send you off to a new runner to the game, Soko Sonex. They're new, they're learning, so give them the nice, warm welcome that this community is known for.
Have a good night, friends.